Hey everyone, welcome back to Like, Share and Subscribe, a podcast by Genflow. In this podcast, we talk all about the ins and outs of being a creator, all of the hottest industry news, as well as what's trending on social media. I'm Emma.
I'm Nellis, and we'll be also talking about everything within the creator economy and what your favourite creators have been up to.
This is a very exciting episode of the Like, Share and Subscribe podcast because we are joined by our very first guest, Charlotte.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Charlotte is a social media creator who specialises her content around fashion and well-being, lifestyle and body positivity. Her content has been so well received that off the back of her social media success, she's recently launched her own podcast, which we'll get into a little bit later, as well as her own clothing edit and her very own self-care journal, which we are super excited to talk about. So we do have so much that we want to talk about in this podcast, but we do have a couple rapid fire questions that we'd like to do first.
Oh, breaking the ice.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You go, guys.
You go first?
I'm first.
Yeah.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
What is the one outfit that you could wear for the rest of your life?
Oh, I think cargos and a long sleeve top.
Is that you?
Love a cargo. I'm wearing them today.
Yeah,
actually.
so cozy, like versatile. I think I'm more like a trouser gal than a dress
yeah.
gal.
I do like cargos. I'm loving them.
They're a bit of a thing now, cargos. Do you know what? Do you know what cargos I'm loving actually at the moment?
Tell us.
Although I've got like the tapered ones at the moment. You know the ones where like a bit bigger.
Oh my god,
Wide
I'm
leg,
loving
straight
them.
leg. I feel
like
Yeah,
early-
Motor Rocks do them. I'm loving them.
Yeah, I feel like early 2000s fashion
Yeah.
is coming back, and I'm
Yeah.
loving
My
it.
favourite.
All there for it.
Right, come on, rapid fire.
Number 2, which TikTok song is living in your head rent free?
Oh, about damn time, Lizzo. That
Yes.
it's about damn
I
time.
love it. Can you do the dance?
Yeah.
Go on, do it, sit down.
Later.
No, do it now. Oh, there you go.
Can you teach me? Can you teach us?
Yeah.
We'll do it
There you
later.
go.
Let's do it.
Me?
Well done,
I
love
can't.
that. Okay. One meal that you would never get bored of.
Ooh, ramen. Bit random.
Yeah,
Bit random,
no.
but I just got into. As soon as I tried the Wagamama chili chicken ramen, I was hooked. So yeah, ramen.
I was going to say, a bit of waggers? Or
Bit of waggers,
Waggers
yeah.
is the best, yeah.
Okay, what would you say is one thing you love to do, your favourite thing away from social media?
Ooh, I started pole fitness.
Oh,
Love
Bit
that.
random,
No,
but
love
yeah, I
does that
started
really
it recently.
mean? Just-
It's I don't want to say pole dancing because everyone has like a
Right.
weird thing, but it's basically like an ab and arm workout, but in a fun way.
okay, interesting. Yeah.
So yeah,
feel
I'm just
the
like,
burn after?
yeah, I literally am covered in bruises constantly because of it. Like it's agonizing, yeah.
that. I love the sound
Yeah,
of
so
that.
fun.
Okay, a guilty pleasure of yours.
Probably just listening to musical theatre songs on repeat and like annoying everyone
okay.
I love that.
else who's
I
listening.
can
to
imagine you loving it.
What's your favourite musical?
Les
This
Mis.
isn't part of the question, by the way. I
it's
just
not,
needed
it's
to
not.
know.
Les Mis, I know it's like a typical answer. I do like Heathers though. That's a nice new
I've seen
modern
Heathers.
musical if anyone wants to go
I'm a
see
Billy
it.
Elliot girl.
Well,
Forever and ever.
oh,
Billy
love.
Elliot.
I'm a bit, I'm not too sure
Not
what's
sure.
going on here, but yeah.
You
yeah,
like
tell
The
me.
Greatest Showman, no?
No, I don't know who you've been talking to, mate. It weren't me. Very last question. So we're going to get more into this later on. Emma's going to cover it, but I've seen you've been to Bosnia.
Oh, I have, yeah.
So I'm Bosnian.
Oh, no
Yeah,
way.
I know. Yeah,
Lovely.
you probably never met a Bosnian outside of Bosnia, but anyway, here we are. Where would you rate it? Let's say, is it in your top 10 of holiday destinations that you've been to?
Yeah, I'd say it's my top 10.
There we go.
I really enjoyed it. And because it was a day trip, I think it's
Yeah.
made me want to go back
Right,
more.
okay.
So, yeah, I really enjoyed it there. And it was a beautiful
Yeah,
day.
we
I
go.
would love
Big up
to
Bosnia.
go.
Woo!
You needed to go. Okay, perfect. Well, that leads us on very well because we have seen that you've just got back from Croatia, or a couple of weeks ago you just got back from Croatia. I think it was for your dad's birthday. Did you say
Yeah.
on social, which is so lovely? What was like a highlight of the trip?
Oh, I think either the day we went to Bosnia
Yeah.
or there was like a 3-island boat tour that we did.
Oh, wow.
And it was quite fun because it was like a mix of like adrenaline and being able to like explore on our own
Yeah.
accord. So yeah, it was really cool, like really chill.
Yeah.
And it was in April, so there was like no tourists about anywhere, so it was so quiet. So I'd
really
recommend going in the
Going
spring.
around that time.
What made you go to like Croatia and Bosnia? Because especially
Bit
Bosnia,
random.
yeah, you could say it's a little bit random.
I think I wanted to take my family somewhere that none of us had been to before.
Okay.
And Croatia is something we'd all said about before, and then I just basically found out
Yeah, I've never been before. It's
Dubrovnik,
right?
yeah.
I'd
And it was
like to
beautiful.
go, yeah.
No, because I've watched some of your vlogs, and actually what I've realised across all your social media platforms is that you create content very specific to the platform. So you don't really tend to, for example, create a YouTube video, then pluck out clips from there and stick it to Instagram. So yeah, you love cross-platform creations. What makes you do that, and yeah, why and how?
I don't know. I think I'm just obsessed with social media.
Right,
so
okay.
I just love the different methods of content creation, and like I like the long form YouTube where I can be like really raw, honest, chatty, long form content for people who like that, which is what I love to consume myself.
Sure.
And then I also do love my like TikTok, but I take TikTok a little bit less seriously, just like throw random dances, could be recommendations, literally anything on there. And then Instagram, I try and help people feel better about themselves.
You mentioned YouTube, because I love YouTube as well. I think
YouTube.
Emma knows I love YouTube. What would you say is your favourite platform right now?
Ooh.
If you had to pick one, just one.
Odd, TikTok.
Really?
Oh, me too. It's my favourite.
Purely because I feel like less stressed about it than the other platforms.
Okay,
like it
That's
mentally
nice.
stresses me less because I just put what I want out there without thinking too much about it, maybe.
Good
Yeah,
answer.
I do think that's why I love it. There's like almost like a raw authenticity about it, as opposed to Instagram, which is maybe a little bit more polished.
curated,
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
So yeah, you are very good at the whole cross-platform creating. And I, for one, I think, I don't know what you think, but I do think that there's a lot of creators out there that maybe are missing the opportunity to create content for all the different platforms. You know, I don't know, maybe that's because they're worried about branching out onto another platform, but why do you think that could be?
About comfort zones, I think. I think a lot of people don't like to challenge themselves, or they're worried that something won't go right, which I've had that before as well. I'm like, oh, it's not really going well for me. But if you enjoy it, I think that's the main thing. But if you can create content that is going to be able to get pushed on all types of platforms, I think that's the best. So I literally shoot everything horizontal and portrait, just so I've got both.
That is an excellent tip, people. You've heard it here first. That is an excellent tip for creators. So I kind of am wondering, like, maybe it's because, like you've just said, like comfortability, like are people just got so used to creating content for their niche on their preferred platform? I don't know, maybe, but how was it that you actually came across your niche and knew that it was, you know, the kind of content you wanted to create, but also the kind of content that your audience were interested in seeing?
Right, yeah, I think it's quite a difficult journey because I think most people start out just putting what they love, and then they probably get stuck in a hole and they're not getting anywhere. But then when they branch out and things start going well, they can also go down the avenue of just creating content for other people rather than themselves, which is why they lose the love for it, or don't stay consistent, or, you know, all of those sort of things. So I think for me, I'm quite just lifestyle based. So anything sort of goes, like whatever I'm doing in my life at the minute, I sort of post. And then obviously the body acceptance and body positivity movement thing skyrocketed my platform over a short period of time. I think it was in the first lockdown when it all happened, and I was just like, oh god, like people actually like this stuff. I couldn't believe it. Like I just thought I'd start sharing a bit of like raw content, and then I started sharing more and more of that as time went on, and I think it's just me being me. I don't know.
That's
so
really
authentic.
Yeah.
Which platform was it that you began posting about body positivity and acceptance and everything like that?
Instagram is
It
my
was
main.
Instagram first. Okay,
Instagram first. Yeah, just sort of sharing the like low points and like what I'd been through and how I used to view my body, and then the realization that it's like the least important thing about ourselves. Like our bodies are literally like so. The least important thing about ourselves, like I've just repeated myself.
No,
but
that's so true.
I think I spent like my whole childhood fixated on appearance, and I made me want to change it for people who are younger or even like older. Like I sometimes get a couple of like middle-aged people messaging me saying you've changed my perspective on myself.
Wow.
And I still don't believe it because it's just comes through as a message, and I want to see people in real life.
Oh, amazing.
But it's nice to know that the stuff I'm putting out there can shift mindsets and maybe make people less worried about how they look.
How does that make you feel then when you receive those kinds of messages? Does it like give you encouragement and motivation to carry on?
Yeah, for sure. Like I feel uncomfortable talking about it, which is weird because it's like a positive thing. But we should all share like something good about ourselves or something that we do. But yeah, I can't believe it. Like I'm just in shock when people message me that. I'm like, oh, that's so bizarre. Like when I was recording for my podcast yesterday, a girl came over and she was like, you helped me start my eating disorder recovery.
Wow.
And I was like,
massive.
in person,
Really
I
big,
started like welling up because I was like, oh my God, I actually can't believe like this is
amazing.
working on real life people.
Yeah.
So
I also think it's great that that's on Instagram because like we've just said then, it is a little bit more curated and it kind of needs that more authenticity. So I think Instagram's a perfect place for that kind of content.
And you mentioned, so you started this, lockdown you mentioned, that's like over 2 years now. Something I want to cover on that is burnout. So, you know, perhaps doing that type of content, any type of content for a long period of time. I've experienced it myself when I've been creating content. Even sometimes the content you love, you do experience that burnout. And I'm sure you've probably experienced that yourself. So the question is to you, how do you combat that? How do you combat burnout?
This is something I struggle with, I think, because I feel like I dip your toe into different things, and I feel like I put myself I have a lot on my plate basically with all the different platforms, so I think I do struggle with burnout, and I like being productive because it makes me feel like I'm in a good routine. So and like I end up working like late into the evenings and I'm like, that's not healthy really, like to constantly be doing things like that or even looking at a screen for that long. So I'd say walks are actually like a really helpful way for me, like or popping a podcast on and walking is something that I enjoy doing in my spare time. And I think the outdoors is probably what everyone needs to do a little bit more of, especially as a creator who's probably stuck inside on looking at a laptop all day.
It's almost taking a break. I also feel like it's quite important to give yourself not so much pressure on yourself. So say if you have a schedule and you like daily upload or weekly upload, if you miss one, it's not going to be the end of the world. It's also like having that mentality, you know, it's going to be okay. You'll upload again, your ideas will flow again. So, that's really good to hear.
I do think that the late nights and everything like that are just such a trait of a creator. Like you almost can't help it. Like the screen time just goes up and up and up, doesn't it? But those tips that you just said, like getting out in nature, like the fresh air can I think it just like resets you, doesn't it? Almost like maybe where you can actually come back to your work a little bit better because you're more fresh-minded.
Inspiring,
Exactly. Just on the topic of burnout, like you've just said there, Nellis, actually, is that one of my favourite creators who I'm still calling her a creator. She's kind of hung up her hat, maybe started retiring the phrase creator to explore other opportunities, is Emma Chamberlain.
Right.
Now, you might have seen the viral TikTok of, I'm obsessed with it, I tell everyone about it, but you might have seen the viral TikTok of her. So she has a really great partnership or relationship with Vogue, and she's just done the interviews for the second year running at the Met Gala, and she's had that really hilarious running with Jack Harlow. I honestly listen to it all the time. It's like the chat, and he's like, "Okay, I gotta go, love ya," and she's like, "Love ya," and then and everyone's then remaking that TikTok as well. But honestly, it's just hilarious. But it is like she obviously was the reigning queen of YouTube for such a long time. I think it was between like 2017 to 2021, she posted like 55 months straight of content. I think it was like four videos a month, obviously one a week, which is like such an intense schedule. And it eventually got out to the point, and it was on her podcast actually where she spoke about this, was how she was dealing with burnout. And it was actually the creating of the content that actually she was struggling with really internally, like getting exhausted, which is so understandable. I, for one, really liked that Emma Chamberlain, you know, as a massive creator with a huge following, spoke about this so openly. Do you think people or creators need to think about their mental health or their mental struggles more openly on social media?
Yeah, I think so, because people like who want to create or be as big or be as successful as Emma Chamberlain, I think will look at her, and if she didn't speak about that, they'd be like, I need to do all of this stuff. And I think when people share that reality, it's like, oh, I'm actually doing okay. Like I don't need to put so much pressure on myself. And you know, I think that's the case for a lot of people.
That's agree, yeah, definitely.
What do you think then platforms can do to help creators take breaks? For example, I feel like on YouTube, if you have like a consistent upload schedule and you kind of go away from that, you break it for like a week or 2 or 3 and you try to upload again, the algorithm kind of like hits you for that, doesn't it? It like penalizes you. Whereas TikTok, if you don't upload for a while, then you upload your video again, it almost kind of pushes you again, doesn't it?
It's like dopamine hit.
Yeah, it's almost like the two opposite ends. Whereas I feel like the TikTok ones are really good because it kind of encourages you to post again.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like YouTube penalizes you a bit for that. But yeah, what do you think maybe platforms could do just to help creators, you know, take that break and then come back to uploading?
You sort of need like that perfect medium between the two, really, because you don't want TikTok's maybe a bit too far and then you get sucked back in and you're probably going to end up burning out quicker again.
Right.
But then YouTube is probably like, maybe I'll just give up because they don't I've had a break and it's made everything decrease in stats or whatever. But yeah, I guess trying to find that happy medium, maybe reminders or things that come up if you've been on a certain app for a certain period of time could work. I don't know if it would work for me because I think I'd just go cancel.
That's actually a really good. That's a really good idea, though. I do like that idea. Imagine getting a notification from YouTube being like, "Oh, look, you normally upload weekly. You haven't uploaded this week. Just." I don't know what the message would be, but like, are you okay? Or do you need a break? Or just something like, oh, maybe you want to upload soon, you missed it. So that'd be actually quite a good
like
idea.
an encouragement thing rather than you've been on here for 6 hours today.
Therefore,
it's like
we're
when
not
Netflix
uploading
is like, are you still watching this? And it's like, I know it's been 6 hours, I'm watching Friends, but it's fine. Like,
Leave me alone.
Amazing. So we obviously just spoke about like mental health and everything, and obviously that's something that you've really focused on with your journal, which I love. I watched a YouTube video about it recently. Do you have any advice for creators in terms of how they can improve their self-care habits?
So for me, I think journaling is something that like changed my life like in lockdown, which I think is like quite a strong claim to make, considering when people would throw around the word like self-care journal. I think a lot of people are like, that literally will not work. I do think that's like quite a common stigma around that. But when I started writing down my thoughts just in normal like notebooks and things, like finding journal prompts online like Pinterest, or just Google like journal prompts for gratitude, or if I'm worried or if I'm stressed, like whatever like strong emotion you're feeling, if you look for those journal prompts and start writing things down, I think it can really like benefit your mental health, because you can sort of, for me, my mind fogs up really easily. So as soon as I write things down, I'm like, oh, that's everything's offloaded. That's why I like to-do lists and things like that as well. So if you start writing down the things that are stressing you out, whether you're like, oh, I've got a really inconsistent schedule, like upload schedule, or I haven't created enough content this week, or I'm feeling burnt out, like if you write those things down, you can then see it on paper and be like, what can I do to combat each of these and put my well-being first?
Amazing.
I do think that the good thing about having a journal is that I, for one, when I've wanted to journal, I'm just faced with this blank page and I'm like, oh my God, where do I start? And like looking on Pinterest, for example, is like a really good place to start. But I think having a journal like yours is actually like, you know what you need to do. Like you're being told, how do you feel? So I think that's a really good piece of advice for creators.
I might have to start it myself.
You should.
Out of interest then, based on that, what are the top 3 creators you take inspiration from? Personally,
Oh, okay. I'd say, we mentioned Grace Beverley earlier. I love her stuff, and I think her motivation and productivity is something that I like aspire to be. But I think she's been more open recently, for sure, about her like struggles as well, and like more about her mental health, which is nice. So I'd say she's up there in terms of like consistency and like success, I guess. Other creators, I really like, I always mention her, Jess Megan. She's like someone in the body positivity realm, I guess. She posts a lot of like content that I want to share a lot more, because sometimes I do hold back a little bit and more sensitive subjects when I'm feeling a bit burnt out or in a low mood, because I get scared of people. Like I'm such a sensitive soul. Someone says one bad thing, it's ruined my day or my week. So sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I need some therapy, basically. Help. To like stop me from taking things so seriously from strangers online, because to other people I'd be like, oh, don't listen, like who are they? But when it's myself, I'm like, oh, help. So yeah, I'd say Jess Megan, because she always posts really like thought-provoking real life content. And then I really like Stephen Bartlett as well.
Oh, I love him.
Of course.
So yeah, I guess he's a creator on like a way bigger scale, I guess. But yeah, he's really inspiring with all of his talks and the messages he puts out there.
Yeah, great answers.
I think just to touch on, just to go back to the Jess Megan, you just mentioned, then you spoke about comments or the things you receive. How do you deal with that personally as a creator? And is it a struggle or?
Yeah, I think it depends on the day. Like if I'm in a good mood, like I can usually shrug it off. I just have to, there's like a quote, I can't remember it word for word, but it's about, if you wouldn't take advice from that person, why are you listening to the horrible stuff they're saying? Which is what I tell other people. But it's really hard to take it on yourself, especially if it hits an insecurity. Like if it's someone who messages me like, oh, your top's ugly, I'm like, oh, who cares? Like, I like the top, like, it doesn't matter. But if it's something that's a bit more deep or something that I've been insecure about before, I'm like, oh no, like, I feel like I've been...
I can kind of relate to that, because I remember when I used to upload to YouTube, especially the early days, people were like, oh, why are you uploading? You're not good at this, blah, blah. I've always thought, well, it's easy to say, why don't you go and do it then? You know, so it's like, well, at least you've taken the action to go and do that, or wear whatever you want. At least as long as it makes you happy, that's the end of the day. That's the main thing.
While we've just touched on the topic of what you wear, we have had a look at your Goose and Gander edit, which we love. Have you ever had the idea of launching your own brand or your own collection? Have your followers asked you to launch your own clothing line maybe, or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's something I've always been on my like goals, I guess, to start my own clothing, because it's always been a passion of mine, like fashion and making an inclusive brand that doesn't make women and men feel rubbish about themselves. So yeah, that's something that long term I'd love to like bring out, like a really size inclusive brand with lots of bright colours and things. But I've worked with Goose and Gander quite a lot over the years, like especially when I was super young and super at the beginning of my creator journey. And I love loungewear. Like, I literally live in loungewear. I mean, I'm in this today, but it's like the closest to loungewear I could find. But I'm always like in a sweater and joggers. So it was like it's always been the perfect brand to work with. And then when they reached out, I was like, yay, like it's perfect fit.
Honestly, after lockdown, I totally forgot how to dress. Like, I literally wore like joggers and leggings and just loungewear all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I literally forgot how to dress.
No, me too. I'm just loving the whole kind of like oversized fit now.
Yeah,
and everything.
absolutely. Yeah,
like I said earlier, the 2000s, they're coming back.
They're coming back, guys.
So good. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so and finally, you have a podcast coming out this month.
Yes.
Now is your chance to tell us about it.
So I took a while to find the name for it, but it's Your Life and This Is Mine.
Right.
And I just felt like it's something that encompassed a lot of things in my life. And it's a quote, I think it's so simple, but I just really like it. Again, it goes back to that, if someone's going to comment something horrible, like, it's my life, you live yours, I'll do what I want to do, you do what you want to do. And the whole idea behind it is to bring on people from literally all different walks of life. Like, people, I think, thought it was just me interviewing creators, but I want everyone to be involved, like people who follow me, people who want to share their story, raise awareness for a condition that might not be well known about, a charity, something that happened in their life that changed who they were as a person. I just want to interview like as just loads of people and get them to share their story, really.
Amazing. And is there an official date when it's going live? Or?
Yeah, so the introduction episode is going up on the 22nd of May, and then 23rd is like first proper episode.
Oh, so exciting.
So the first episode will be live right now, so go check it out in the links in the description below.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. And also contact me if you want to come and share your story.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have to be the guest next time.
Yes,
You'll have to interview us.
Yes, please.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, Charlotte. Yeah. We've had a great time speaking
Thank
with
you for having me. It's been fun.
Been a pleasure.
Been amazing, hasn't it? Yeah, we'll have to get you on again.
Yes, please.
Thanks so much, guys. Tune in next time and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.
See ya.
Bye.